Hi there, Clifford. So, you've got some new essays for us. Well done. Okay. Oh, and how lovely you've put the bar chart in here for me so I can review it while I correct. Fabulous. Okay, so the bar chart, just call it a bar chart. Typically we call them line graph, bar chart, pie chart, process diagram, map, flow chart. That's fine. That's pretty much the way you need to categorize these different types of diagrams, okay? So this should actually be called a bar chart. Moving on, the bar chart is a graphical representation of the sales of cars such as Audi, Ford, and BMW in the year 2018 in various European countries. Okay, fine. You should not have put a however here. You're not contradicting anything here, so there's absolutely no reason to have a however. So get rid of it, and then instead just start straight away and say, it is evident that the country of Hungary, with a capital H of course, shows the highest sales of cars. Let's see, Hungary, here it is, yeah. Let's try it again. So, it is evident that the country of Hungary shows the highest sales of cars, reaching 400,000. Don't forget, it's in the thousands. This is super important because if you just refer to it as 400, you're giving a very inaccurate representation. Because yes, I realize that it says 400 here, but it says very clearly that 400 actually represents 400,000. So you must mention it. Okay? So reaching 400,000, I wouldn't have said until now. I would have said in 2018 because that's the information we have from the chart. The second highest among the sales of cars is the country of France with 300,000. Again, I'm changing this expression. And counting. Let's see, France. Okay. No, you didn't have to say 300 and counting. Instead, what you could have said is the country of France with approximately or with a little over 300,000. Whereas the Germans, Irish, and Dutch are surging past the 200,000 mark. So the German, yeah, the Irish, and the Dutch. Where is that? Yes. Okay. Now, I'm not really a huge fan of the word surging. Why? Because, again, it implies this kind of motion. We don't have any indication of motion here. And the reason why I say that is because it's essentially a snapshot of a moment in time. If it was something chronological, so in other words, a dynamic chart where you're showing change over time, then yeah, you can talk about surges. You can use these action verbs that show how things change and progress over time. But here we don't have that. It says in 2018, but it's almost as if it's referring to 2018 as like a static kind of point, and it's like an average score of everything happening in 2018 as a whole. So I don't really think that surge is the word you want. Now, what are we really talking about here? We're talking about the difference between a dynamic chart, which is what you don't have here, and a static chart, and that's what this is. It's just one moment in time in 2018, or perhaps it's an average, but you're going to need to use different words, different terms. So more this language of comparison and less these verbs that show increases, decreases, surges, plummets, and so forth. Okay? Okay, so all right, it is also understandable that the car sales have been prominent in the countries of UK and Poland, touching the 200,000 mark again. UK and Poland. All right, yeah, okay, I understand this. Fine. The least sales among the whole lot are the countries of Belgium and Italy, approximately near the 100,000 mark. Again, really be very careful of this. Your data so far has been completely inaccurate because you've not referred to this as being in the 100,000s. It's very important. Moving on. The sales of Ford cars are quite evident in the countries of Hungary, Holland, and France. What do you mean they're quite evident? Ford is that orangey color. So Hungary, Holland, and France. Yeah, I can see that. Okay. While Audi cars were more preferred. Now look at this. You're switching tenses. So here you've got are, here you've got were. No, be consistent. It's the same time frame, so absolutely be consistent. So while Audi cars are more preferred in Hungary, capitalize it. Now, why are you talking about Audi here? Because you just said it that Ford was really popular in Hungary. So I see why. Because essentially Hungary has an equal distribution of car preference. Okay? So that's the kind of thing that you really want to say. You could, and I would have actually spent a little bit of time on Hungary because it has some interesting data. First of all, it's the highest, it has the highest car sales of 2018. The figures are equally distributed among those three car brands. So it's pretty equal that all that money, that nearly 400,000, I don't know, I'm thinking maybe euro, went equally to Ford, Audi, and BMW. Okay? But you can see how this creates confusion in what you wrote, where you said Audi cars were more preferred in Hungary. No, they weren't, because you just said that Ford were evident in Hungary. So it's very confusing the way you've written it. Moving on, BMW cars found popularity in almost all the countries. All right, can you tell me what that means? That's the kind of statement that really needs some clarification. Look at these numbers. They're all around 100,000 with the exception of Belgium. So look at that and kind of group it together. So around 100,000 car sales for all the countries except for Belgium. That's how you deal with this. It just needed one more statement for you to really make it meaningful. The way it is right now, I'm afraid it's not terribly meaningful. Then, the most prominent is the country of Belgium. Why is it the most prominent? That's a strange word to use. Showing a meager figure. That's the word that's missing here. Who bought Audi and BMW, whereas Ford found considerable customers, I could say. So I would not have used that word that you used for Belgium, prominent. The most interesting country is Belgium, perhaps, which had the lowest sales of Audi and BMW. However, it had considerable sales for Ford automobiles. So essentially what I feel like, Clifford, is that you're missing some key information. You haven't really focused on the trends. Okay, so you're missing some connections in this information that you're looking at. That's what I wanted a little more of. So for me, the task achievement is the weakest point here. You've got some decent vocabulary, some pretty good grammar. The coherence and cohesion is fine, but I think that those two first areas, so task achievement and coherence and cohesion, really could have been improved. Let's take a look now at your essay. Pollution. Yes. What are the reasons and how can it be solved? Let's get into this right away. Pollution is one of the major problems the world is facing, and major countries are trying to resolve the problem over a period? No. You think you mean over time, or they're trying to resolve the problem in general? Something, but certainly not over a period. That's not precise. It doesn't really tell us anything. So, widely populated countries face a greater risk in terms of widely populated countries face a greater risk in terms of pollution. There, I said it. Larger cities pose a greater threat to the environment. Okay, this is a little too much. You don't need to get into all of this in your introduction. I don't know why this is happening, but you could really make this a little more consolidated, a little more concise. In almost all of the worldwide meetings and the United Nations, the topic of pollution is being addressed every now and then, and various initiatives are being taken to find. All right, so here's what I want from you. Let's look at the question again. It's basically considered one of these two question essays. So what are the reasons for pollution and how can pollution be solved? You spent a lot of time with these sentences here in the middle that were more or less not helping your goal. So let's try to rewrite it together, shall we? Pollution is one of the major problems the world is facing, and major countries are trying to resolve the problem during this period of time. Okay? There are a variety of reasons why pollution is occurring in our societies, yet there are various initiatives being taken to find solutions to resolve it. You're done. You're out of there. This is the last place where you want to spend lots of time on your essay. So the way we just revised it is an ideal way to say what you're absolutely supposed to say, but then just move on so you can get into the body paragraphs, which is really the most important area of your essay. So, most developed countries have already set appropriate standards in waste management and are moving towards the right track. Although we see that the developing countries are still lagging behind in applying major reforms needed for a clean environment. It is important for people to realize the impact pollution can cause to the environment and lightning fast changes required. All right, now this is not what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be talking about why pollution is a problem. You're fairly off topic because you're not really addressing it. What are the reasons for pollution? There are many. There is the myriad cars and vehicles using fossil fuels on our roads every day all over the world. There is industry which is belching out toxic fumes and smoke every day in order to provide the items that we need, that we think we need to survive. So there are lots of things you can say. The question asked you, what are the reasons for this? Okay, you could say that government, in its effort to improve the economy, does not enforce laws and rules regarding pollution and regarding emissions into our atmosphere. So there were tons and tons of things you could have said. I feel that this is really underdeveloped and it doesn't have a central topic. Okay, definitely not a central topic here. Moving on. Global warming is one of the major setbacks humanity is facing in the present day world. Okay, in the present world is fine. Most often people do not realize how they can be major contributors to it. Our world as a whole is experiencing change in patterns of climate, and it's simply due to, you're missing that, is simply due to global warming. Automobiles, larger industries, hospitals, etc. are equally contribute in further damaging the environment. Okay, fine, Clifford, but that's not what the essay asked you. How can this be solved? This is what you're supposed to be solving in your second paragraph. You did not. You're supposed to provide ways to help remedy this problem. Measures from the government, measures from individuals, different things that could provide a solution to this issue, and explain why you think that these particular solutions are effective. So I hate to say this, but this would not really score you a good grade for task response. You're not answering the question. You're kind of just skirting around the issue, but certainly not answering in a way that provides information to the person reading it. Moving on, in conclusion, it is important to make a plea to every individual in the society and to skillfully use, that's how I would say this, to skillfully use the allocated resources in keeping our environment clean. Widespread awareness and education about pollution and its effects is necessary and changes required from level 0. That's lovely, perfect. But your development in the body paragraphs absolutely needs work. Look at this. Your introduction was really far too long if you consider how small your body paragraphs were. It should be different. It should be, these are nice and developed, and these are kind of, the introduction and conclusion are just kind of, 2-3 sentences, definitely no more. Maximum 4 for your introduction, but certainly not for your conclusion. So I want you to change these. I want you to revise them, correct them, send them back to us. Give us your error correction list so we can see what you have changed and what you have gained from the feedback in this essay. I am waiting to see what you write for us next. I hope you find this information helpful in order to help you progress and continue your road to the score you need for IELTS. So, best of luck, continue writing, and I can't wait to see what happens next.